So I'm going to give you 3 of my tips that you may not have heard before that can help you with a salary negotiation. I also want to point out that this is a particularly important topic for my female listeners because, according to a recent CNBC News article that I read, 60% of women say they've never negotiated their salary, and many of them quit their job instead. So let me say that again. 60%, 6 out of 10 women have never negotiated their salary, and they choose to leave their job instead of negotiating the salary. So this very much goes to the part of Crush where I talk about using your resources efficiently, the U in Crush. Before we go and look for another job, let's at least try to get what we can out of our current job and use our time, energy, and resources efficiently where we're at before we, decide to go somewhere else. So this tip is super easy and anyone can do this, but most people don't think to do this. And it is as simple as this. Use a very specific number when you are negotiating your salary. I actually read this study from Columbia Business School, and I 100% agree with it, that if you say, for example, $50,750 as a number that you're going into the negotiation with instead of $50,000, guess what? It makes you seem a whole lot smarter. And what I found out when people have done that to me as the person who is offering the job, when I find that an employee uses a more specific and precise number in their initial negotiation request, they are more likely to get the final offer closer to what they were hoping for. And it's as simple as this. It's just mind games, y'all. It's just mind games. Because me as the employer, if you come to me with a number like $50,750, it makes me think you've done a hell of a lot of research and that you really know what you're asking for, and it's coming from a place of information and research and confidence and not just pulling something out of your ass. So that is an easy tip that you can do right now, and you don't have to do much else other than pick a number. Now, if you're thinking, how do I pick that number? It can be based on, the research that you find for the job that you are in, looking at the salary ranges. It can be based on the need. So knowing, let's say, for example, you are going to be buying a new home and you know that your mortgage payment is going to increase by this much, then increase the amount that you're looking for by the amount that you want to get your mortgage paid. Or it could be my favorite, how much debt you want to pay off this year. Reverse engineer that number and then ask for that number as part of your salary raise. And then guess what? You don't have to do much more work, guys, because you're going to be doing the same amount of work but getting more pay. So that is the first tip. The second tip that I would recommend in coming in with a salary negotiation is to use your LinkedIn profile as your brag sheet. I have written dozens of resumes, actually probably close to 200 resumes in the last couple of years, and the vast majority of them being women. And whenever I talk to women about what they've done in their careers and what they should write in their resumes, they have a really hard time bragging on themselves. Versus my male clients who have no problem bragging on themselves and what they've accomplished. And what I find is that if you are going in for a salary negotiation, you got to come with the goods. Not only saying that, well, I think that I deserve this raise because of X, Y, and Z, but you have to be willing to brag on yourself because no one else is going to do that for you. The reason I say that you should use LinkedIn is because it is public to the world, whereas your resume may not be public to the world. And so LinkedIn is a really great way to show your employer or a potential employer that you are not afraid to tell people what you're capable of doing. So in your LinkedIn profile, aside from just listing the usual, I know how to fax, papers and I know how to answer phone calls or your typical job responsibilities, you should list any accomplishments that you've had, any awards that you've earned. Customer and coworker testimonials are huge. One of my favorite parts of LinkedIn is that they have an option to do a recommendation on there, and it shows that it was a real person that took the time to write a recommendation for you on your LinkedIn. I have like 16 recommendations on my LinkedIn profile, and that alone gets me business that I probably wouldn't get otherwise. And so I would also recommend that you demonstrate to your boss that you are willing to show these achievements by showing them your LinkedIn profile, right? Because here's the secret, guys. It's one thing to tell your boss something and maybe to write it down or put in your performance review. It's another thing to send your LinkedIn profile to your boss and let them know low key that you're letting other people know how badass you are, right? And it's a cool way of saying it without actually having to say it, right? So use your LinkedIn profile. It is an awesome tool in salary negotiations, and I see the vast majority of women not using that. Now, here is the stickiest part. This one is not easy to do, so I don't want to come off saying, like, well, like anyone can do this. I understand how hard this is, but the biggest negotiation tool that you have in your tool is the willingness to walk away. I'm doing the dramatic pause here because I really need you to listen to me when I say this. You need to be willing to walk away. That is your biggest tool in any negotiation, whether it's salary, whether it's buying a home, whether it is, talking to your husband about doing the dishes. You have to be willing to walk away. So, when you are considering your numbers, you should also come up with a walk away point, a final offer that's so low that you have to turn it down. And this could be based on your financial need, your market value, or simply what you need to feel good about the salary that you're bringing home. I personally strongly advocate for women to get their finances in order, which includes things like paying off your debt and building a good safety cushion, because that gives you the opportunity to walk away if you really have to.